We're pleased to have the Minister of Education, Youth and Information, the Honorable Karl Samuda, joining us for our post-cabinet briefing notes, and his colleague, the Minister of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, Olivia Grange, will be here with us to share some very exciting news as well. So without delaying the process anymore, may I invite Minister Samuda to give you the cabinet notes, after which we'll have Minister Grange and then we'll take questions. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. First, before I start, let me say how much of a pleasure it is for us to have that entertainment, culture, sports icon of the country, Minister Grange. She has been traveling all over the world. She has more or less taken up residence now in Paris. So we're happy to welcome her here today. Our permanent secretary and our chief educational officer, Dr. McLean and Dr. Troop. As you know, in my ministry, I am the most illiterate of them all. Everybody else is a doctor. And I want to just also comment on the extraordinary sense of pride that all Jamaica, millions of Jamaicans across the world felt when Tony Ann won the Miss World. My wife thought I was going crazy. And I don't think there was a dry eye in the viewing public when she gave the explanation about the person who meant the most to her, her mother. I think that was a very touching moment. So we're all very proud, and Minister Grange will elaborate on the arrangements and so on in respect of Tony Ann and the treatment of her when she returns to Jamaica. And then finally, I just want to make sure that I don't forget to wish you all a very Merry Christmas when it comes, and a very enjoyable holiday period. So now we get down to what is today not a very extensive list of items, but some that may cause some reason to contemplate and think about the kind of work that is being done at the cabinet level. I want to start by advising that the establishment of a National Commission on Violence Prevention was approved in that it is to be established, and it will seek to conduct a continuing comprehensive review of all existing public and private violence prevention programs that now exist, and also the strategies of the government to deal with this. This is a very topical issue, and it's one that has to be acted on urgently. It will seek to identify gaps in the prevention and intervention services that are provided, and to make recommendations with respect to violence prevention and intervention programs. And it will also create a 10-year action plan, which will guide the operations and execution of this area of great concern nationally. The commissioner will be appointed by the Prime Minister for a period of 3 years. We gave approval for the acquisition of 5 acres of land located at Darling's Pen in Spanish Town. I think it is the minister's constituency in St. Catherine, for the construction of a divisional headquarters for the Jamaica Constabulary Force. The move is to keep, make all the efforts in the world to provide a more suitable working environment for the police officers and better service delivery to the public. That's an area that has been of concern to the country for some time, and we are doing everything we can in our power to ensure that the environment in which the national security personnel operates is up to a certain standard. So that facility at Spanish Town, now that exists, is in dire need of repair, and it does not provide adequate parking. So the decision was taken to find an alternative location, as an expansion was not possible in the Spanish Town location where it now exists. The compulsory acquisition of land at 25 Main Street in Port Maria, St. Mary, for the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Here again, Cabinet gave approval for this almost 1 acre, or almost 3/4, 0.6 or 0.7 acres of land located at 25 Main Street in Port Maria, St. Mary, for the purpose of establishing a parking facility for the new Port Maria Police Station for the sum of $26 million. This will bring great relief to the entire area, and although St. Mary is not one of the areas that we find an upsurge in crime, certainly we need to ensure that across the length and breadth of Jamaica, the facilities are appropriate for the work that has to be done by the security forces. Then there was the renaming of the Brimmervale High School to the Whitcliffe Martin High School. I know that this will be a great relief to the Member of Parliament, the Minister of Transport and Mining, Minister Robert Montague, who led this process through Cabinet. Whitcliffe Martin became a Member of Parliament for St. Mary's Central in 1962 and made significant contributions to the development of the constituency and the parish of St. Mary generally. You see, in St. Mary, they all worked very closely together, and although Whitcliffe Martin was at the time Member of Parliament for Central St. Mary, and Minister Montague is a Member of Parliament for Western St. Mary, nonetheless, he was very articulate in his presentation to Cabinet and insistence that this change be made to give regard to the effort of those who made their tremendous contribution to the political process. Then there was the appointment of members to the advisory board of the Child Protection and Family Services Agency. The approval for the following persons to be appointed to the advisory board of this agency with effect from November the 11th, 2019 to November the 10th, 2022. The members, I guess I could indicate the membership. Mr. George Hamilton, who's chairperson. Miss Linda Mayer, Miss Georgia Hamilton, the chairperson. Miss Linda Mayer, Miss Nadine Spence, Mrs. Violet Foster Russell, Dr. Karl White, Mr. Orville Black, and Miss Naomi Francis, no stranger to this room. We also dealt with the appointment to the Board of Directors of the Entertainment Advisory Board. Minister Grange will elaborate on the work of the board and what is done, but the board is quite extensive, and this board will serve from November the 11th, 2019 to November the 10th, 2021. I don't know if you all are aware of the membership. Did you distribute the membership list? No? You have the membership list? Okay, because this is more like this is an extensive list of board members. And the award of contract for the building and civil infrastructure works for the Perth Development Phase 2 in Manchester was the other item that we would wish to speak about this morning. Cabinet has given approval for the award of 4 contracts by the National Housing Trust for the undertaking of a building and civil infrastructure works at Perth Housing Development Phase 2 in Manchester. The contracts, which total 10.9 billion, are as follows. Lot number 1, the amount of 3.8, and I'm rounding off, $3.8 billion to Chins Construction Limited. Lot 2 in the amount of 1.6 billion to M&M Jamaica Limited. Lot number 3 in the amount of 2.5 billion to Astrom Building Systems Limited, and lot number 4 in the amount of 3 billion to Billwright Construction Company Limited, 3 well-known and established companies. In addition, the Infrastructure Committee, which I have the pleasure and honor of chairing, approved certain contracts. For instance, to start from the beginning, $337 million to Allied Protection Limited for the provision of security guard services for Petrojam Limited for a 3-year period from 2019 to 2022. In addition, the award of a contract for a government gateway portal platform for passenger data exchange for the Passport, Immigration, and Citizenship Agency. This was in the amount of $1.5 million by way of a single source procurement to a company by the name of Société Internationale de Télécommunications. You like that? SITA, in short, for the procurement of a new SITA border government gateway platform for passenger data exchange. I might just add that in the explanation as to the need for this was that we will soon in Jamaica be moving away from manually needing to fill out our arrival card. But that will be done electronically. So before the travel, before you even go and get your ticket, you fill out on your computer, your laptop, before the plane departs, and that will instantly be sent to the immigration. So on arrival, you just walk right in, and it will be all the data that you put on that form will be right in front of the immigration officer. So we're moving away as much as possible in this administration from manually filling out these forms and all that goes with that. And this particular contract is to provide the necessary platform to enable the immigration to better monitor those passengers who are coming into Jamaica. So we have an instant awareness of who is landing and who is taking off and so forth. And it's an international facilitator. The procurement of construction services by the Heart Trust, NTA, for the expansion and refurbishing of the maintenance building at Ebony Park Academy in Clarendon for $73 million, rounded off $74 million. This is a facility for teaching the participants at the Ebony Park agricultural facility as a separate entity instead of, as it is now, mixed in with the overall facilities at Ebony Park. So this will be a specially designed facility to train and to enable all the necessary machinery for management and supervision to take place at that facility. Very badly needed, and if we're going to deal with the development of agricultural economic zones, then this will be an integral part of that strategy. Then there was the award of contract, procurement of works for the design and build services, Marley Mount Primary School expansion in St. Catherine. And this is consistent with the ministry's plan to remove from the shift system schools that are now presently engaged in this shift, where we are moving as rapidly as possible. The permanent secretary is here. If you need any additional elaboration on it, she'll be willing to advise you, because this is one of our cornerstone strategies for enabling students to be exposed to more intensive training. But in order to do that and to remove them from shift, we need to expand the facilities that are now the constraining factor affecting that particular strategy. So this is a step in the right direction, and this is for $89 million, much to the great pleasure of the Member of Parliament, Minister Everard Warmington. And this contract goes to Astrom Building Systems to carry out all aspects of the project, the design and build services. And so we look forward to that being completed. Then there is the award of contract for the non-revenue water reduction program in Portmore, Southeast St. Catherine, by the National Water Commission. As you know, this has been a plaguing, difficult task for the Water Commission. They're losing a fortune from non-revenue water. And this contract is designed to facilitate the better methods of being able to detect and rectify non-revenue water usage. And if the Water Commission is to really thrive and develop, we can't have the percentage of water that is not bringing any returns at all to the company to continue. This is an effort in that regard, and the Water Commission will elaborate at a later stage, but from the explanation given, it is very, very, very good in its strategy and equipment that will be installed. And we're getting to a stage where no longer will it be necessary for the meter reader, as we call them, to have to go into the premises to look at the meter. But there is equipment that will be introduced shortly where they can stay outside of the premises, just on the perimeter, and the computer will indicate the reading of the meter from outside. So there's no longer this business of blocking a reader from entering any premises, because it doesn't have to go inside the premises to read it. It will be done electronically. Here again, a move in e-business and e-government. Everything that we're doing is moving in that direction, which will be a great improvement. Award of contract for the supply and delivery of reagents and equipment for laboratory services within the health facilities of the North United States dollars to LASCO Distributors Limited for the supply and delivery of reagents and equipment for laboratory services within the system. Additionally, the award of contract for the provision of janitorial and porter services in 4 hospitals in the Southeast Region Health Authority. This contract of 3 years. Then finally, there is the, not finally, but I see more here. I didn't realize we had done so much work. Variation to a contract for the supply of clinical chemistry system cost of $862 million US. Health is a very expensive matter, and although the minister is challenged because of the required resources, we try as a government to provide as much as we can in the areas of great importance. The original contract had to be amended to make way for the amount of the variation that arose, which was a 110.3% increase over the original contract when it was finally assessed. Variation of $68 million, and there was an initial variation totaling $17 million approved by the head of entity to extend the existing contract. The new contract amounts to $295 million, which is a 76% increase over the original. These things do happen because in the initial stages there may be an underestimation of the total costs, and when it is finally determined, then we have to apply for an increase in the actual outcome. The Cabinet was asked to approve a total variation in the amount of $45 million to a contract originally awarded to Jack Den Enterprise Limited for the Blight 20 for a period from January to July. That again is another variation. The original contract amounted to $186 million, and the new contract amounts to $230 million, which is a 34.54 increase over the original contract. We asked them that in the meetings that I chair to be very detailed and vigilant in assessing the value, and in instances where there's a select tender, where you select the bidder because the person who has been servicing this facility and providing the services is an established and unique organization that provides the best service and the product of greatest integrity. It doesn't pose as much of a problem. Where you have a variation that would conflict with the original tender, then we'll have to take a different approach. But that's why it is very important that in assessing the value of these contracts, that we ensure that the most accurate figure is determined at the time of the signing of the contract. Ladies and gentlemen, that's about what I have to say today, but I know I'd like to pass over to Minister Grange for her to give you an update on, as I said, the recent great honor that has been bestowed on Jamaica by having that great event. Thank you very much.
And Secretary Grace McLean and other members of the Ministry of Education and the persons here from the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport, including Mr. Lenford Salmon, who is responsible for major events and special activities, and Mr. Ali McNabb, my advisor on sports, and Ms. Pat Reed, a director, a commissioner of the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission. So good morning all. As we all know, we have a new Miss World, and she's Jamaica's own Tony and Singh from St. Thomas. To be specific, as she would say, Bath, St. Thomas. We must repeat her nationality for the benefit of some members of the foreign media. Truly Jamaican.
Hello. I'm sorry.
Tony Ann is an outstanding young woman with a wonderful personality, a beautiful soul, and an extraordinary talent. But not only is she endowed with all these wonderful things, she's a very focused, determined, and courageous Jamaican woman. We have witnessed firsthand her beautiful spirit and her capacity for care through the work that she has been doing with the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment, and Sport at the Women's Center of Jamaica location in her home parish of St. Thomas. She has been helping to improve the facilities and raising funds to assist us to ensure that the adolescent mothers are given the tools to become great parents and to continue their education. Tony-Ann has proven herself to be an exceptional ambassador for our country. She represented Jamaica so ably during the competition, and we all look forward to her journey as a new Miss World, and we know she will be phenomenal. We will see her soon. I've been in discussions with Julia Morley, the head of the Miss World organization, and with Miss World herself. And I've been impressing upon them how eager we all are to see her and to celebrate with her as she begins her reign. The initial response from Mrs. Morley was that she had a very tight schedule and it would be unlikely for us to see her before sometime in January. But after discussions, many late-night discussions, we all agreed that Miss World should return home for a brief visit organized by the government of Jamaica this weekend. The visit will include a series of public activities during which the people of Jamaica will be able to show her and surround her with love. Tony-Ann will arrive in Jamaica on Friday, December 20, this Friday. In fact, it's a miracle that we have been able to get such swift action. But Tony-Ann's crowning as Miss World has been a story in itself. It's been a Cinderella story, and it has been a miraculous story. So she will arrive this Friday on British Airways at 5:15 p.m. And she will be accompanied by Julia Morley, Chairman and CEO of Miss World. She'll also be accompanied by Stephen Douglas Morley, the event director of Miss World, and David Greenwood, head of media and public relations for the Miss World organization. And of course, her dad, her proud dad, Bradshaw Singh, will also be accompanying her. Ladies and gentlemen, I must tell you, this has been a wonderful story. It has been, in fact, when I think of it, I'm saying, you know, this is true divine intervention, because everything has worked so well in the favor of Tony-Ann and in the favor of Jamaica. And we can all be very proud. The activities that have been planned: when she arrives, she will be met at the airport by myself, the Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Edmund Bartlett, His Worship the Mayor, Senator Councillor Delroy Williams, Mayor of Kingston, and His Worship the Mayor, Councillor Michael Hugh, Mayor of Morant Bay. The franchise holders have also been included on the receiving party, in the receiving party. That's Mr. Weston Horton, Miss Jamaica World co-franchisee, and Miss Dahlia Harris, Miss Jamaica World co-franchisee. There may be others joining us, but at this point, those are the persons listed to be the receiving party on Friday. There will be photo ops, there will be opportunities for photographs to be taken, but we will not be having a press briefing at the airport at that time. We have scheduled a press conference for 10 a.m. at the Pegasus Hotel on Saturday morning. And during the course of the day, there will be a number of private activities, private discussions with the franchisee, and a little time for the party to relax. But that evening at Emancipation Park, we'll be hosting a cultural tribute. And on that occasion, Tony Ann will be able to perform so that the entire Jamaica can see her firsthand, live, and I would say live and direct, but I say live and in person. She has expressed a desire that after that tribute, she wants to go to St. Thomas to Unruly Fest, the festival that is being hosted by Popcorn, who happens to be from the same district where she was born, and that is Bath in St. Thomas. On day 3, we will depart the Pegasus for a tour of areas in St. Thomas. We'll go to Yala Square, where there'll be a brief stop. We will visit the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation in St. Thomas, which is, she has taken that on as her personal project. And we will have a brief stop in Morant Bay Square. Then the party will move on to Arcadia, where she will do a floral tribute to her grandfather, where she will lay flowers on his tomb. Her grandfather, Harold Singh, was a counselor for the Jamaica Labour Party and a BITU trade unionist. They will then move on to Bath, where the main celebration will be held. After that, she will be hosted by the mayor of Morant Bay at a special lunch that is being organized. She returns to Kingston, and that evening, she'll be hosted by the Prime Minister at a reception at Jamaica House. Monday morning, she will pay a courtesy call on the Governor General, as well as the Prime Minister, where there will be a special presentation to her, which I'm not privileged to announce at this time. She will also pay a courtesy call on the Leader of the Opposition, and she will visit the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation head office in Kingston, where she will be greeted by the young mothers who are being hosted there. She departs Jamaica that evening, sometime after 5 p.m. But before she leaves Jamaica, the Minister of Tourism will have a chance to host her at lunch. That is the program we have put together in a very short time. That is the miracle we have been able to achieve. And this has been a wonderful opportunity for Jamaica to again shine. Jamaica is fortunate that we rank 4th in the world to have won the Miss Jamaica contest 4 times. We are going to have to check. I keep saying 4, and everyone keeps telling me 3 times. But I'm sure I saw it somewhere where we rank 4th. Huh? There are 2 countries. We'll see. Yes? All right. So we are fortunate, and we must give thanks. There are some folks that I think it is important that we acknowledge their contribution to this wonderful story, and I will start with the franchise holders, Dahlia Harris and Weston Horton. The original team was Weston Horton and Aston Cook. Aston passed suddenly earlier this year, and Dahlia Harris stepped in and to fill that void. And along with Weston Horton, they, I think, did a tremendous job in selecting the right person. And we must commend them for that. Because if the public will recall, last year, the Miss Jamaica World ended up, I think, 5th in the top 5. So they're doing something right in selecting. And she was actually made the Caribbean Queen. So they're doing something right in selecting the winner. However, Tony Ann's journey, as her dad said, was a little rocky. And there was a chance that she would not have made it to the UK. So there is a team that I want to thank for working with me to make it happen. And they're present here this morning. I just want them to stand. Lenny Salmon, Enid Harrow, Barbie Mudahay, Miss Banton. Where is Miss Banton? She's the widow of Garnet Silk. She's the widow of Garnet Silk. And where's the driver who broke all the rules to get her to the airport on time? Please applaud this team, ladies and gentlemen. They must be recognized for their work. Who is that? I don't see you. I also want to thank High Commissioner George Ramakan and his wife, Lola Ramakan, who played their part in London, and to also thank June Daly, organizer of Miss UK Jamaica, who also played her part. There's a little lady that I've left for the last to acknowledge. She's my right hand, my left hand, and also my brain. 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, day or night, I call her, and she's on duty, ready for duty. She worked a miracle on the Friday with Tony Ann on the phone, and she's on the internet completing her application for her visa. She got an appointment for her the Monday morning at the UK High Commission, and we got her out of Jamaica Monday evening. I want Cherie Clark to stand up and be recognized in a very special way. So they say that teamwork makes the dream work. And I'm happy to say that as a team, we were able to do it. Now, all the things on social media that you have seen leading up to Tony Ann's departure, I have to thank Oliver Watt and Andre Grange, who at the last minute then when they were called, jump in the car and go to the airport. Jump in the car and go to Morant Bay. Tony Ann is going to paint the Women's Center there. Andre was there. Andre, don't just look up and take the credit. I would not be able to go back to my office if I did not. I did not acknowledge your work. And I don't see Oliver. Is Oliver here? Now, for those in the media who know Oliver Watt, you know he can get very grumpy. And so when he was told, Oliver, you have to go to the airport, right? We want to video Tony and leaving and all of that. He was grumpy all the way to the airport. But when he got to the airport and he saw Tony Ann, he was a different person. She has that personality that just make everybody just warm to her. And so today we celebrate, and it's not just Tony and success, but it is the work and success of all of us. Thank you so much. We also must thank the Ministry of Tourism and the Jamaica Tourist Board for playing their part. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister. Wow, that was indeed an entire teamwork. Thank you again to all persons at the Ministry of Culture, Entertainment, and Sport, and of course gender is in there, and to let me issue a warm welcome to all those who are just coming in and all those from the Ministries of Education, Youth, and Information, and of course, the Ministry of Culture. And so, ladies and gentlemen of the media, let me now invite you to ask your questions. I know there may be many, or in the spirit of Christmas, maybe few, since we need to have some sorrel and cake. So, you know the rules already. Please raise your hand. When you do, I'll acknowledge you. You'll be presented with a microphone. When you do take that microphone, we ask you to identify yourself and your media entity and then ask your question. Are there any questions this morning? Well, Nicole.
Good morning. Nicole
Good morning.
Wilson from The Gleaner.
Yes.
So a previous review of a bushing program suggested that there was undue influence by at least 2 government MPs over contract executions. What oversight mechanism is in place for the December to February programs to insulate them from similar interference?
Thank you for that question, Nicole. I know the minister would respond. But recall when the Prime Minister made the announcement in Parliament toward the end of November, he did point out that the Integrity Commission, like they did in the last few bushing programs, had been invited to provide direct oversight on this particular project. And so given the rollout and that the Integrity Commission has been playing an important role, I believe the public can be satisfied. But Minister, I don't know if you want to add anything to it?
Well, let me just enlighten my young friend from the Gleaner, in case he might have overlooked. I have been in Parliament for 40 years before you were born. I'm well aware of what goes into any program designed to upgrade the communities where people who don't have any wealth, struggling people, those communities and the conditions under which they have to work and live and rear their children. Quite frankly, you might be impressed by the amount of money that has been allocated for this project. Let me tell you right off the bat, as far as I'm concerned, if we had more money, we would spend more money, because it is but a drop in the bucket as to what is required to be done. And you can that is evidenced by the fact that as you drive around, you will see a number of things that you would point out and say, but boy, it's a pity they didn't do this, they didn't do that. Roads that are not repaired because there are not enough resources available to repair those roads. Embankments that cannot be bushed because the funds cannot reach. There are communities where sanitation is a major problem. Mosquito control is a major problem. So don't be fearful of suggesting that we really need far more resources to deal with the problems that confront us in every constituency throughout the country. I start there. In terms of the controls required to ensure that the funds are properly monitored and executed, consistent with the government guidelines, we have gone through an exhaustive program of education to everyone who is involved in the program. And that is led by the Prime Minister himself, who has laid down the rules and regulations governing the program. And I'm satisfied that his effort in ensuring absolute integrity in the execution of this program is first class. And as a result, you will see the marked improvement that has taken place so far. And we're not finished in all constituencies yet. So let's not get carried away with this amount of money for bushing. Without bushing, you can't drive your car on the road and not have a whole side of it scraped, as I have done coming from where I live in Bogwalk, repeatedly. And that costs money. So don't associate the need for bushing with boiler work. It's an essential aspect of maintaining an environment that is conducive to health and welfare and well-being. And at the same time, it provides work for those idle hands that have to remain without work for, unfortunately, for long periods of time. They look forward to this work at Christmas time when they can get a little joy in their families. So have no fear, my friend. The structures are in place to ensure absolute integrity in the execution of these projects. And there are agencies that are monitoring them, and everything that is prepared as a project is monitored and reported on to the Integrity Commission that has oversight in ensuring that public funds are properly spent.
All right. Are there any further questions?
I have another question.
All right. You do a follow-up, and then we'll go behind you. Yes.
Relating to the infrastructural projects. Many of them have been delayed, and so we want to know...
Can you be specific with...
the Constant Spring Road.
Yes,
okay.
okay.
has been really, delayed. What level of cost overruns is the government expecting from those projects?
Minister, can I take this one? So, Nikoi, first of all, the government is apologizing profusely for the delays in the extent to which we have had works continuing when they really should have been wrapped up already. The National Works Agency and other agencies involved in the infrastructure projects have been meeting to ensure that we get new timelines and meet them. As at yet, there are no indications that have been put on the table in terms of cost overruns. We really don't know that yet, but the Prime Minister has been very insistent that everything must come in within budget.
Siobhan Campbell, Nationwide News. I have a question for the Information Minister. It's regarding the winding up of the PMI, Peace Management Initiative.
Yes.
I'm curious as to what was the assessment used by Dr. Chang as the basis to suggest that the initiative itself has not been working. What was the evidentiary basis of that decision? Furthermore, I'd like to know if there are any other such intervention programs or any such other organizations that may end up also being wound up.
Thank you, Siobhan, but you're asking the minister to go into the mind of his colleague in terms of that, or if there was a discussion at cabinet level? Okay.
Naomi, you're quite right. I would not trespass on another colleague's operation of their ministry. I stick in my lane, and I try desperately to stick to what I am responsible for. The PMI has been a time-honored organization that has done useful work. That is undeniable. As to the specific reasons, having assessed it for the decision that has been taken by the Minister of National Security, is a matter that ought properly to be addressed to him. But I can say this, that wherever there is need for social intervention, anywhere in Jamaica, then that is a very useful exercise that should be undertaken. I've had exposures, I've had my problems in my constituency. You all know of the highly celebrated Red Hills Road and areas along that strip that we have had our challenges with, and they have come in and we have had discussions and meetings, and it has served its purpose. So we are not suggesting for a moment that there is any attempt to eliminate the PMI and to diminish its importance. But there are certain other factors that I'm sure the minister would have taken into consideration in making that recommendation. You want to follow up?
I just want to follow up. Is that then to suggest that the decision never rose to the cabinet level?
No, but the fact is that there are certain explanations that you had best receive from the minister himself. I don't explain other people's work. I allow them to explain themselves. They're quite capable of explaining in detail. So what I would recommend to the media is that you seek out the audience with the Minister of National Security and go into in-depth discussions on it. We need not be confrontational. Just an explanation will do. And I'm sure at the end of that time, you will get a full understanding as to what has caused the decision that you are referring to take place.
Thank you, Minister. And of course, in the spirit of open government, I'm sure the Minister would, in fact, welcome your interventions and question. Yes, Prince.
Prince Moore, RJR. We learned recently about the visa revocation of the wife of Darrell Vaz, Ms. Anne-Marie Vaz. And prior to that, it was Mr. Vaz. I want to find out if there has been any contact made with the U.S. Embassy in Kingston as to the reasons for the revocation.
I think that matter has been ventilated, Prince. In fact, it's not a cabinet matter, and Minister Vaz has made his own pronouncement and media statement, as well as for himself and his wife, and it's a matter that they're pursuing individually in their private capacities with the U.S. authorities. Any further questions? Well, Nikoi.
Okay. Yes. Okay, so the Prime Minister had announced the JLP conference about a zero-tolerance approach coming next year, in particular for taxi operators. He mentioned new technologies. I want to know, what are some of these new technologies? I know that some have been announced, but for clarity,
Yes.
just wanted to reiterate. And what are the areas being considered as zero-tolerance areas? And how is this different than, other threats, so to speak, of zero tolerance?
I see it's coming to Christmas time. I think the Prime Minister announced in, as eloquently as he could put it, in terms of the town centers that would be impacted and targeted. I would invite you, Nikoi, and the rest of the media to stay tuned, and in particular to the national broadcasts that will come, and in particular the New Year's broadcast, where the Prime Minister certainly will provide more details on those matters, as he has promised.
Sure. The whole question of zero tolerance, of course, was as a result of the total breakdown of order, law and order, in some of our town centers. Harford is a splendid example, and that's where he said he would begin. There is no room in the Jamaica that we are trying to build for that level of total disorder, disarray, disregard for other people's rights to use the roads as they were designed to be used. You have situations where vending takes place almost in the road. That situation is intolerable, and we are building a country that we are reaching out to the world. We just had crowned the Miss World, not Miss Jamaica, Miss World. So the whole world is focused on Jamaica. We must not only produce brilliant, young, beautiful women as Tony Ann is, but we must produce a country that is reflective of a level of development that will gain us accolades in all areas of our endeavors each day. And so the Prime Minister is perfectly correct. Perfectly correct. And he has the complete support of the cabinet, all his ministers, and every good-thinking Jamaican for the activities that will be undertaken to ensure that our town centers are places of pride where we can take our visitors from around the world to have a look and feel proud of it. And we want from the media support for the Prime Minister's initiative. Support, not negative attitudes towards genuine effort to improve the quality of life of our people and in our country. No question about it. I get along well with the media, most times. The only time I don't get along with the media is when, in attempting to explain a perfectly logical, straightforward situation, in that explanation, there are some downsides and upsides. But it seems that aspects of the media are just tending to focus on that which is on the downside. That does not help Jamaica to create the kind of positive image that we want in our country. And that image today is not like it was 20 years or 40 years when I entered. Today it is instant. Instant. So everything we do is visited upon the world instantly through social media and other areas of communication. So we have to be very careful, and as members of the news media, since you say I am the minister in charge of information, as members of the news media, you have a responsibility not just to regurgitate things that are told to you without going and investigating it, engage in investigative journalism, so you ask questions about matters that affect the Minister of National Security. How much effort has been put into engaging the Minister of National Security on a one-to-one basis or with the media and in a meeting? Minister talk about taxi. Well, how many have had an engagement with the Minister of Transport? That is what is the first port of call. That is the first port of call in the process of investigating and ferreting out the truth.
Minister, thank you. And I again point out that the Prime Minister will be making some more information available concerning those matters in his future broadcasts. Our first female questioner, yes.
Good morning, Alfie.
Good morning,
Saunders
Alfie.
from the Jamaica Observer.
Yes.
I just have a question. It's a matter of clarification. The press has always been able to ask questions of the information minister, whoever it is at the time, that's related to cabinet discussions, cabinet matters. Is it okay for us to still do that if the portfolio minister is not at the press briefing?
It is entirely okay. I believe, and I think Minister can speak for himself. Specifically what the minister is saying is the ministers have their individual portfolios. The Minister of Information comes and reports on cabinet deliberations. If you would like details of what is happening in specific ministries, it would be useful, and certainly you would get far more if you also approach the minister. But certainly the Minister of Information has been, and can always provide that information to you as well.
All right. Thanks.
Listen, we have to approach this in a reasonable and logical way. For you to get a fulsome explanation, and in some of the questions asked, you would need in-depth discussions on it and a full explanation. For me to be able to offer you that facility, I would have to have the cabinet here with me every time we meet. Because clearly you would not expect me to pronounce on the activities and strategies of another minister's portfolio. And it is impractical to expect that I would have the entire array of the cabinet here to answer each question, because we are not aware of the questions you're going to pose. We give you a report. You haven't asked any questions specifically to the areas that have been raised. We had the pleasure of having Minister Grange here, but you haven't focused very much on entertainment. You haven't focused very much on sports. For that matter, you haven't focused on any aspect of youth. Now, she's here. She can answer any of those questions. The Permanent Secretary in Education is here. She will answer all technical matters relating to education. So it would be unreasonable and unfair to expect that in one single Homo sapient you would have all the responses that you require at any one time. So that's why I'm referring you to the portfolio ministers who I would encourage to engage you. And if there is something that you want clarification on, at the end of that, and you signal that to my media consultant or to Ms. Francis, then we will bring it back to this forum and have a more fulsome discussion on it. And at that time, we could have the portfolio minister present. They're always available as long as they get an idea of whether you're going to discuss what aspect of their ministry. There's nothing, and I can speak of this categorically. There is nothing in any ministry, headed by any minister, that they are reluctant to discuss with the media. Nothing. Anytime you want to know anything about education, you can call me morning, noon, or night, or the parent sector, and you'll get it. And you'll get it in a very fulsome manner.
Thank you for that, Minister. I suspect we are wrapping up. Well, let me once again thank the Ministry of Gender, Culture, and Entertainment in particular for the efforts that they've put forward in ensuring that Tony Ann is home this Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and certainly we'll be celebrating her. Let me just re-invite Minister Grange to come back to you to give you some highlights to ensure that everybody has it on their lips and in their agendas to ensure that they see our Miss World.
Thank you, Naomi. I just wanted to also thank Paulette Bellamy and Anna Strawn, Alex Martin Blanken, for the work they did with Miss Jamaica World just before she left in working through an arrangement of a song, redemption song, that she performed for her talent piece. She gave us the feedback that when she performed that song, there wasn't a dry eye in the room. The following night, they had karaoke night, and she decided to do a little bit of the song that has now made her world-renowned. The organizers decided that they wanted her to do the Whitney Houston song after her performance on the karaoke. I also want to thank Dr. Zoe Simpson of the Women's Center of Jamaica Foundation and Mrs. Sharon Robinson from the Bureau of Gender Affairs, who have been working closely with Tony Ann. Finally, I just want to clarify, the Miss World Country Ranking, the information is, India has won it 6 times. Venezuela 6 times. England 5 times. And Jamaica 4 times. So India and Venezuela tied. So if you want to treat them as one, then we can say Jamaica is 3. It's 3rd. But if we treat them individually, Jamaica is 4. But whatever it is, we're in the top. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. May I just put another spoke in the wheel? So given our size, population size, and geographic size, in terms of statistics, we are what? Number 1. All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I know we are in the throes of the holiday season, so we'll see each other in 2020. Happy holidays, and have a wonderful and prosperous 2020.
Whether you're a small farmer, street vendor, big investor, every entrepreneur, you got to wise up about your money. You have to make sure say your money secure. When you need to grow, you have access to more.
Financial inclusion means that individuals and businesses have access to useful and affordable financial products and services that meet their needs.
Access to more money, more credit, whatever your business needs. When you work hard for your money must work for you.
Starting January 1, 2019, Scandal bags and other plastic bags measuring 24